Hi, welcome to Fridays on Bookish Days. I'm obviously not Bunny. I've been asked by Brad to fill in for her for this week, but Bunny will be back next week. Just to introduce myself, my name is Sue. I've been in the book business for about 27 years with Barnes & Noble. I'm currently acting as a receiving manager where lots of books pass through these fingers, not always escaping. And I'm also kind of new to the YouTube community. I've just started my own channel this year where I talk about books, do book hauls, reviews, and I enjoy, currently my main favorite is YA dystopian, but I enjoy all sorts of genres. So that's pretty much me. And our topic this week is books we'd like to see made into movies. So I've picked about 5 of my top favorites, and there's a bit of a wide variety of genres here. So I'm going to get started with my number 5 pick, and this is my adult fiction pick. And it is Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I'll read a little bit of the synopsis for those of you who aren't familiar with it. It's Barcelona, 1945. Just after the war, a great world city lies in a shadow, and a boy named Daniel awakens one day to find that he can no longer remember his mother's face. To console his only child, Daniel's widowed father, an antiquarian book dealer, initiates him into the secret of the Cemetery of Forgotten Books, a library tended by Barcelona's Guild of Rare Book Dealers as a repository for books forgotten by the world. Daniel's father coaxes him to choose a book that will have a special meaning for him, and Daniel so loves the book he selects a novel called The Shadow of the Wind by one Julian Carax that he sets out to find the rest of Carax's works. To his shock, he discovers that someone has been systematically destroying every copy of every book this author has written. In fact, he may have the last of Carax's works in existence, and before Daniel knows it, his innocent quest has opened a door into one of Barcelona's darkest secrets, an epic story of murder, magic, madness, and doomed love. So, first of all, I think this book has amazing setting, and just the Cemetery of Forgotten Books I would love to see. It's described as this hidden labyrinth beneath the city, endless passageways, books, like I said, filled the ceiling, the floor with books. I'd love to see what that looks like. There's mystery in this story. What happened to the author? Did he just disappear? Where did he go? Who was this mysterious man that seems to be hell-bent on destroying all of Carax's works? And why is he referred to as one of Carax's characters, a name that Carax uses to describe the devil? We find that out through the course of the story. There's lots of twists and turns in this plot. We go on a long journey in this story from Daniel's young age, when he first picks up the book, all the way to his old age. His life starts to mirror that of the author's, which puts him in possibly the same danger that befell the author. It's just full of lots of twists and turns. There's even a heart-wrenching romance. I just found it very intriguing. I think it would appeal to many viewers across the board. Now, my 4th pick is a middle grade book, so opposite end of the spectrum. I enjoy middle grade once in a while. This particular one is by R.L. Lefevers. She currently has a YA book out called Grave Mercy about nun assassins. I'm looking forward to reading that one. And nun assassins sounds pretty fascinating. But the book I picked was Theodosia and the Serpents of Chaos, and I'll read you the Goodreads description. Theodosia Throckmorton has her hands full at the Museum of Legends and Antiquities in London. Her father may be head curator, but it is Theo, and only Theo, who is able to see all the black magic and ancient curses that still cling to the artifacts in the museum. When Theo's mother returns from her latest archaeological dig, bearing the heart of Egypt and a legendary amulet belonging to an ancient tomb, Theo learns that it comes inscribed with a curse so black and vile that it threatens to crumble the British Empire from within and start a war too terrible to imagine. Intent on returning the malevolent artifact to its rightful place, Theo devises a daring plan to put things right. But even with the help of her younger brother, a wily street urchin, and a secret society known as the Brotherhood of the Chosen Keepers, it won't be easy. She quickly finds herself pursued down dark alleys, across an ocean, through the bustling crowds of Cairo, and straight into the heart of an ancient mystery. Theo will have to call upon everything she's ever learned in order to prevent the rising chaos from destroying her country and herself. So again, wonderful settings. You have, the museum full of its artifacts and everything. Edwardian England, lots of archaeological wonders pass through her hands. You have a precocious, lovable yet brilliant young main character. A lovely mixture of humor, mystery. She always is sort of like one up on her parents, solving these things unbeknownst to them, which I think appeals to younger viewers, knowing that they outsmarted their parents kind of situation. If you picture The Mummy Returns, the second movie with Brendan Fraser, where they have a child named Alex. Alex is sort of like the female Theodosia, but except in that movie where the parents have to rescue the kid, in these books Theodosia is inevitably rescuing, like I said, her parents from the mistakes and curses they bring back into the museum. So I think this appeals to the young and the old. Like I said, if you enjoyed like Harry Potter or Hugo or anything young like that, you'll enjoy this particular thing. And I think it'd make it a really good movie. My third one is in one of my more favorite categories, and that's YA Dystopian. And this is Partials by Dan Wells. And again, we'll read a little bit of the synopsis. The human race is all but extinct after a war with partials. Engineered organic beings identical to humans has decimated the population. Reduced to only tens of thousands by RM, a weaponized virus to which only a fraction of humanity is immune, the survivors in North America have huddled together on Long Island while the partials have mysteriously retreated. The threat of the partials is still imminent, but worse, no baby has been born immune to RM in more than a decade, and our time is running out. Kira, a 16-year-old medic in training, is on the front lines of this battle, seeing RM ravage the community while mandatory pregnancy laws have pushed what's left of humanity to the brink of civil war. And she's not content to stand by and watch. But as she makes a desperate decision to save the last of her race, she will find that survival of humans and partials alike rests in her attempts to uncover the connections between them, connections that humanity's forgotten or perhaps never even knew were there. This is going to appeal to sci-fi fans. The partials are very reminiscent of the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica. It's a future dystopic world. It's kind of a survivalist type story, living in the small island. I mean, if you just look at this cover and imagine this on the big screen, her looking at the devastation and all that's kind of left is this little pocket of humanity in this city here. I think it's very vivid and very impactful. You have a strong-willed character in Kira. She's not too far unlike Katniss, who steps in to protect her sister in the Hunger Games. Here, Kira, after her friend becomes pregnant, and she knows without a doubt that this armed virus is going to take her friend's child unless she can do something. She sets off into partials territory to try and see if she can find some kind of cure to this virus. So she's putting her life on the line for her friend's child and ultimately for humanity's. Because if they don't find a cure to this, humanity will be wiped out. There have been no new births. So there's lots of mega plots in this. There's action. Again, sci-fi movies do really well. Look at this. The awesome image. So that's my number 3 pick. Now, my number 2 pick, I don't have a physical copy of this book. It has not actually been released. It will be released in July. And it is Something Strange and Deadly by Susan Dennard. And I will read the synopsis from Goodreads. The year is 1876, and there's something strange and deadly loose in Philadelphia. Eleanor Fitt has a lot to worry about. Her brother has gone missing, her family has fallen on hard times, and her mother is determined to marry her off to any rich young man who walks by. But this is nothing compared to what she's read in the newspaper. The dead are rising in Philadelphia. And then in a frightening attack, a zombie delivers a letter to Eleanor. From her brother. Whoever's controlling the dead army has taken her brother as well, and if Eleanor is going to find him, she'll have to venture into the lab of the notorious spirit hunters who protect the city from supernatural forces. But as Eleanor spends more time with the spirit hunters, including their maddeningly stubborn yet handsome inventor, Daniel, the situation becomes dire. And now not only is her reputation on the line, but her very life may hang in the balance. So this particular book, Victorian era Philadelphia, I think would just, light up the screen. You have these wonderful costumes, petticoats, parasols. I mean, that would just be beautiful on the screen. The horse-drawn carriages. The story also takes place during the World Fair, which you find out. So again, more opportunity for beautiful sets and things. And then the juxtaposition of The Walking Dead and the attacks and things that take place. I would love to see that. I mean, that's just an amazing combination. There's also steampunk elements. You can't quite see it in the cover. There are some gears hidden in the background there, but the spirit hunters create their own devices. They have the steampunk kind of element to it to help them try and lay the dead to rest. Our main protagonist, Eleanor Fitt, is a wonderful character, very strong. She's a bit like Rose de Winter from Titanic, where her mother's trying to marry her off to a rich and upper-class family to kind of keep their position in society. So I felt a lot for that character after having seen what Rose goes through in Titanic, minus the sinking of the ship, of course. But yeah, she's in her decision to do what she can to try and rescue her brother. She joins up with these spirit hunters. She becomes involved in an attack during The Walking the Dead, and she's batting at him with her parasol. Great character. There are lots of action scenes. This book is nonstop action from beginning to end. There is a bit of a romance, starts to develop in this story. I wouldn't say the romance plays such a heavy deal, so people that don't like a lot of romance in the book, do not worry. This isn't that heavy into it. It's more the action and adventure and the mystery. You know, who is this? Apparently a necromancer is controlling these Walking Dead to create like an army for some purpose, which we don't know yet. So this is not a standalone. Same as Partials, that is not a standalone either. So these would have to be some kind of a multiple movie like Hunger Games, you know, maybe it's a trilogy. I don't quite know yet. I know there is going to be a follow-up, I think, around 2013 for this one. So this one's coming out in July, and I hope a movie would be coming out too. And then finally, my number one pick. And this one, because it was so vivid, the imagery from this book in my mind still stays with me. Whenever I even think about it, I get the same feelings from it. And this is a YA paranormal. It's a standalone book, and it is Velveteen by Daniel Marks. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, I will also read the Goodreads description. Velveteen Monroe is dead. At 16, she was kidnapped and murdered by a madman named Bonesaw. But that's not the problem. The problem is she landed in purgatory. And while it's not a fiery inferno, it's certainly no heaven. It's gray, ashen, and crumbling more and more by the day. And everyone has a job to do, which doesn't leave Velveteen much time to do anything about what's really on her mind, Bonesaw. Velveteen aches to deliver the bloody punishment her killer deserves, and she's figured out just how to do it. She'll haunt him for the rest of his days. It'll be brutal and awesome. But crossing the divide between the living and the dead has devastating consequences. Velveteen's obsessive haunting cracks the foundations of purgatory and jeopardizes her very soul. A risk she's willing to take, except fate has just given her reason to stick around. An unreasonably hot and completely off-limits coworker. Velveteen can't help herself when it comes to breaking rules or getting revenge, and she just might be angry enough to take everyone down with her. Now, this book, like I said, Daniel Marks vividly describes purgatory, full of ash. You feel like as the characters are walking down the street that you are enveloped in this cloud of ash. The world is built basically on what the, I forgot what they're called now, the collectors, I think it was, the collectors, they go out from purgatory into daylight where the land of the living is and bring back all the things that we have discarded. Old cardboard, rocks, records, clothing, anything they can use to bring back to purgatory to create it, basically, keep it running. And it's just so vividly imaged. There are two parallel stories. You have Violet's desire for revenge, and then you also have the job she has to do. And her job is the leader of a salvage group, this ragtag group of young and old people that they go out into daylight and rescue trapped souls, whether they're trapped accidentally or purposely, and help free their souls to go on to either purgatory or heaven or wherever else they're destined to be. And there's lots of action in these things. They have a wonderful cast of characters that, like I said, work with her. And then she helps free the soul of Nick, who later becomes one of her co-workers in her salvage group. And, of course, a romance starts to develop, and again, that's against the rules. But she's not one for following rules, as we learned in the very beginning of the story, where she's trashing the heck out of her killer's house, flooding it, breaking things. She's not supposed to use these fissures between purgatory and daylight for her own purposes, yet there she is, what they call haunting, and haunting is very forbidden. This is a lot of action in the story, really well-developed characters, well-developed settings I would love to see on a large screen. Yeah, that's I couldn't think of anything else for my top pick. This is definitely the best one I would pick for a movie, so I'd love to see that. I'm sure we'd all love to hear what your thoughts are on these subjects, and you'll be hearing from, or already have heard from, the rest of the Bookish Days crew. So thanks for watching. I look forward to seeing Bunny next week, and in her words, I'll try it with a southern twang. Sorry, Bunny. See ya!